and I can see it up in your eyes. And you won't make it only tonight. And yeah, I'll try to let go. Oh, but then I stay, yeah. And I'm a fool if you're commitment. Running too narrow. And I'm a fool if you're commitment. Running way too narrow. And I'm a fool if you're commitment. Running too narrow. And I'm a fool if you're commitment. Running way too narrow. Tell me why. Tell me why. Yeah. Eso es lo que siento y siento tu belleza. Si te alcanzo y ya que tú me estresas, sé que estás conmigo abriendo mi cabeza. No te alcanzo, ¿será que tú regresas? No te he visto más aquí en mi soledad. Eso es lo que siento, a ver si no me he muerto. And you forgot I'll be the one that you want. I only wanna see you in time, but I did too much. And one more night, I know that I ain't the one. I only wanna see you in time, but I did too much. Yeah, yeah. Eso es lo que siento y siento tu belleza. Si te alcanzo y ya que tú me estresas, sé que estás conmigo abriendo mi cabeza. No te alcanzo, ¿será que tú regresas? Eso es lo que siento y siento tu belleza. Si te alcanzo y ya que tú me estresas, sé que estás conmigo abriendo mi cabeza. No te alcanzo, ¿será que tú regresas? Eso es lo que siento y siento tu belleza. Si te alcanzo y ya que tú me estresas, sé que estás conmigo abriendo mi cabeza. No te alcanzo, ¿será que tú regresas?
I need love, love to ease my mind. I need to find someone to call mine. But Mama said you can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of give and take. You can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. You gotta trust, give it time. No matter how long it takes, but how many heartaches must I stand before I find the love to let me live again? Right now the only thing that keeps me hanging on when I
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now. Hey, everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. And hey, yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. Hey, this is not a funeral, it's a revolution after all. Your tears have turned to rage. Just wait, everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like you're going down in flames. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. They can't do nothing to you, they can't do nothing to me. This is the life that we choose, this is the life that we lead. So throw your fists in the air, come out if you dare. Tonight we're gonna change forever. Everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
It's UUCC Zoom-In Live with special guest Mary Schatzman. Here's your host, David Kantor, with co-host Will Barrett.
Well, good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our co-host, Will Barrett. Will, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Well, you know, I had a whole bunch of stuff here, Will, for you and me to ad lib about, but I think the tragic death of Daunte Wright in Minneapolis overwhelms everything else today. And so I think instead of our having a little bit of jaunty banter back and forth, I'm going to ask everybody to just take a moment of silence in recognition of Daunte and his family and to the city of Minneapolis. Please, a moment of silence, folks. Thank you, everybody. Well, we've got some big Zoom-In live news to share with the audience tonight. So, after doing an outstanding job as a pinch-hitting co-host a couple of times, Claudia Viktorov has agreed to take on the role of permanent co-host. So she'll now be alternating with Will on a regular basis, and she'll be with us for our next show on April 26th, which takes a little bit of the burden off of Will to be here a whole lot more than he was planning on it. So Will, you're off the hook.
I appreciate it.
I knew you would. Quick reminder, everybody, use the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to announce yourself. Make sure you send it to everybody and not just the panelists, okay? Because your fellow congregants want to know that you are here.
And if you've been here with us before, thank you for coming back. We appreciate it. And if this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here, and we hope being with us every second and fourth Monday becomes a part of your plans. And if you're enjoying yourself, please tell your other UUCC friends. The more the merrier. We love having people here. And another reminder, if you missed a past episode and want to check it out, episodes are available on the UUCC YouTube channel, but not every episode is available as we've had some copyright issues with some of the music. Blame David for that, not me. I'm just a co-host.
Yes, and I'm just a music pirate. Well, one of the podcasts I listen to, it asks people to send in their original music so they avoid this kind of stuff from going on. But alas, I'm hesitant to. We can't even get our audience to send a question or a comment from time to time. So I'm not asking them for original music. So you might have people like me singing or something. You don't want that.
I mean, we could do all the copyright royalty-free YouTube background music.
Oh, we could do that. And the second you want to get on that, Will, you're up. So, everybody, we've established the Jack Ullman comedy moment when we hear some jokes from Jack. We have been hearing from Jack in Florida, which is why some of his jokes may have been half-baked. But Jack just got back from soaking up the Florida sun and is here in Cleveland spreading his rays of sunshine. So everybody, please welcome Jack Ullman. Jack?
Good evening, David. Good evening, Will. Good to be with you again. I have two mildly amusing comedy moments for you tonight. But first, two observations. One, it is remarkably challenging to tell jokes when you can't see your audience's reaction. I struggle with wondering whether you out there in UUCC land are smiling, smirking, shaking with disgust, or not even listening. Until this show, it never occurred to me that I feed on my audience's reaction to the setup and then the punchline. Second, most of the jokes I've heard and told in my life are about sex. Inappropriate, even for a Unitarian talk show. The second largest joke category revolves around groups, religious groups, ethnic groups, blondes, etc. Also inappropriate for this show and mildly offensive to many. So what I'm left with are puns, wordplay, and just plain silly. Like the one about the king who was only 12 inches tall. He was a terrible king, but a great ruler.
Oh,
Now, those of you who have raised sassy children may appreciate this one. A 12-year-old girl asked her mother one night at dinner, "How old are you?" The mom responded, "That's not something you should ask a lady, it's personal." "Okay," the daughter replied, "How much do you weigh?" Again, the mom said, "That's too personal and very rude." "Okay, then why did you and daddy get a divorce?" By now, the mom was thoroughly fed up. "Eat your dinner and leave me alone," she said. The next day, the preteen snuck a peek into her mother's purse and found her driver's license. She studied the document, and at dinner she said, I know how old you are, 42. And I know how much you weigh, 151 pounds. And I know why you got a divorce from daddy. You got an F in sex. Well, that's it. Hope you're smiling.
I'm stealing that joke.
Okay, Jack. So we're not laughing here just to make you feel good. I thought that was really funny. I like that one.
That
I'm
was-
sure I've heard it before. It's still funny as all get out. Thank you.
That was pretty clever. I enjoyed
clever.
that.
Yeah. So, Will, I think you're allowed to steal it if you want. So thanks, Jack. Folks, our special guest tonight is Mary Schatzman. Mary was board president of the society at the time of the reunification discussions with First U and served on the Reunification Task Force that developed the terms for that reunification. Mary then served on the first board of UUCC, which she was in the middle of all the early evolution of the congregation. Aside from all this church stuff, Mary has an interesting mix of her career with her justice interest, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm UUCC welcome to Mary Schatzman.
Yay.
Oh, goodness, Mary, your groupies are out there. Thanks for being here. How are you doing this evening, Mary?
Oh, good, good. Today's been a good day.
Today has been, why is today such a good day?
I got to work, and then after work, there is on my street in Cleveland Heights an in-person happy hour. And so we participate in that, and it's a fine way. You know, even Dr. Fauci does this.
So I want you all to be cautioned. Mary has forewarned you that she was at a happy hour before she came here, so we can take no responsibility for what Mary might be saying tonight. In fact, she might tell you some of the jokes that Jack is unable to tell you because he ends up restraining himself, just to caution you.
This is her happier hour.
So, Mary, so how are you dealing with COVID? Have you received your vaccinations yet?
Yeah, I got both vaccinations, and I'm past the 2-week mark, so I'm what you could consider fully vaccinated. Yes, and it was a really good experience because at this place, it was a mass vaccination site, and it was almost euphoric. People were so glad.
It was a mass vaccination site, so you said prayers while you got vaccinated?
Right. No.
Just checking. So, Mary, are you doing anything differently than you were before now that you're vaccinated?
Not much, except this happy hour thing that we created. It's actually one of the more wonderful things about what we've been experiencing.
All right. So now let's get into some more about who you are as a person. Let's start with some personal history. So where are you from? And tell us a little more about your family structure growing up.
Okay, this is kind of going to mix in. Yeah, I was born in Columbus, Ohio. I'm the oldest of two. I've got a younger brother. Grew up in a little suburb called Reynoldsburg. And then, I was a Southern Baptist back then. And when I went to college, I went pretty far away. I went to Waco, to Baylor. I wanted to be a nurse, but I wanted to be in a Baptist school. And that was actually a really good way to go about this because instead of being defensive, I was pretty open, and I actually learned to think. And then I wasn't a Baptist anymore. I actually got introduced to UUism there. Somebody I was dating actually said, there's these people that sound like you and you really ought to meet them. And it was some UUs. But I didn't actually join a church or anything. And then I got a degree in social work, and then I got a job as a social worker. Actually, I was a caseworker. And so I did a lot of home visits and stuff. And
Is this in Texas?
then, yeah, that was in Waco.
Hmm.
But then as soon as I was eligible, I moved to Dallas because that was more fun. So I was working for the Department of Human Services, and I did the whole, got married, had 3 kids, had a house, but then got a divorce, sold the house, decided to choose David. I think he's on here tonight. And so then I decided I wanted to change career too. So I went back to school and got another bachelor's, this time in nursing.
Wait, was this all in the same year, Mary?
No, this was over a span of time.
Oh, got it. Okay.
What was the second place that you went to school for?
That was Texas Women's University in Dallas.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But see if this sounds familiar to anybody who's actually on here tonight. I didn't actually go to church, though I knew about these UUs, just kind of around. They popped up at some of the things that were like social justice stuff. But then I had a child who was like 1, and then I was going to have more kids, and I decided to actually join this church. So we did. So when David and I got married, he was very supportive of my career change. But then I decided to go ahead and get a master's degree in nursing. So about that time, he could retire. And we moved here to the Cleveland area. And I went to Case and became a women's health nurse practitioner. So then I got a series of different jobs, but I became also a sexual assault nurse examiner, and I kind of gravitated toward abortion. So where I work now is an abortion clinic in Cuyahoga Falls. I'm trying to be retired, but I work hours, it's a thing to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. My grandmother works as a nurse as well, and you couldn't get that woman to retire if you paid her.
Right. It's a thing.
I don't think she knows how to retire at this point.
Well, here's the thing that your grandmother would probably second, is that when you're doing something that you really feel called to do, and you really love doing, and oh, by the way, it's an actual job and you can get paid for it, you just can't let go.
Hey, I completely understand that. I can understand why both of you guys would feel that way. So moving on, what would you say is the biggest lesson you learned as you were growing up?
Right. The biggest lesson, that one way or another, I have to have meaning, that I really don't want to just float along doing what people say I should do. I have to make it be real.
All right. And what would you care to elaborate on that? Like, what would you define that as for you personally?
Okay. On an individual level, it's finding that I have a place in the everything, that I can be in touch with my reality. And then on a sort of a back out and look at a broader picture level, it's that there are all these things that call to me, and I make connections here and connections there. So that's where I find meaning.
All right, all right.
So Mary, you told us that you met David. You didn't tell us how you met him. How did you and David meet each other?
At work.
At work?
He was
where?
a social worker too.
Ah,
Okay,
this
common
is-
interest.
This is in Dallas, not in Waco.
Yeah, that was in Dallas.
Got it. Okay. And connect one more piece of the dots for me. So you said that basically you moved to Cleveland. So why Cleveland instead of Des Moines or Albuquerque or Chicago or New York City? What was the magic about Cleveland?
There were only a few places where I could get the actual graduate program I wanted, and Cleveland was one of them. And at that point, my parents were getting older, and I was able to, it's a bit of a commute to Columbus, but it's doable. And so that was very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll come back to your work life in a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit more about UU. So you told us about how you found UU in the first place, but you didn't go to a UU congregation until you got here in Cleveland. Is that right?
No, in Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, when my oldest daughter was 1, so she's not on here. Okay, that would have been 40 years ago.
So how did you find the society when you got here in Cleveland? How did that happen?
Yeah, when we moved here, first I looked in the phone book, and I kind of located places, and because of some advice that I'd gotten earlier, we decided to give any place that we wanted to check out 3 tries. So first we came to First Church and didn't much care for it. And then we went to Society, and it was very small, you know that. And my daughter, Katie, was going to be living with us, and she was 10, and she would be the only kid in RE. So here's what happened. After we'd been 3 times to each of those, there was a special unveiling of the Silent Witnesses at East Shore. I read about this, and we decided, well, let's go out and check that one out. So we went out to East Shore, and after church, Katie comes running back and says, there's these girls. There's Kaylee and Chrissy and Libby, and I want to go to church here. And when you got a kid that says something like that, you don't ignore it. So for 10 years, we drove back and forth, 40 minutes. You know, it's 40 minutes each way.
Were you living in Ormond then too?
No, we were living over on Clarkson, but close.
Yeah, close. And so like where you live, you know, right, there's no highway, right? I mean, the highways are like 1,000 miles away. Yeah.
Right, but it's a really nice drive out there.
So you've been a UU now for a whole bunch of years, and I guess the question I'd ask you is, what about UU appeals to you?
Right. Okay. It's a place where I can find like-minded people, but not everybody agrees about everything. So it's got a comfort in that I feel safe, but on the other hand, it's got things that challenge me. And so I can grow, and there are people that are super fun to be around, and so I enjoy it. So it's kind of a whole mixed bag.
You know, as I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about all the testimonials we did for stewardship. And I'm listening to what you just said, and basically you just packaged up all the things that all those other people said about what they find meaningful and why they still go to UUCC, what have you. You just knocked it up, put it in a nice little package with a nice bow around it.
If all of us are on this, there must be something to it.
So how did you get involved in leadership? Well, wait a second. So you were going to East Shore. How'd you end up at the society?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, Katie was long gone by then. You know, she grew up and went other places, and she lives in Dallas. But yeah, we were still going to East Shore, making that trek out there because we knew people and were involved in a lot of stuff. But then we were only driving one car because it's really crazy to take two cars. That's just a lot of gas. But I was working as a sexual assault nurse examiner, and I was on call a lot of Sundays. And David had this vision of having to make a decision. If I got called while I was out there at church, I would hop in the car and go. So he could either go with me, or he'd have to stay at church and beg a ride with somebody. Or something. So we decided that we would, by that time we actually knew people from society anyway. So we went back over to society, partly because it was closer, but then we got involved there too.
How'd you get involved there? How'd you get involved in leadership stuff at the society?
Leadership. Okay, partly because I was disgusted about one thing in particular.
That's the story that comes up over and over again. Yep.
I figured if I got on the board, I could work on this, and I did, and it worked. So it had to do with the parking lot.
So for all the leadership stuff you did at the society, what did you find to be most meaningful?
I think the most engaged was when I was actually on two different ministerial search committees. That would do it.
So what prompted you to be supportive of exploring reunification with First U?
Well, first, when I heard about it, I was like kind of dumbfounded, but it seemed to be gathering momentum. So I was on the board, so I was supportive of all the what did we have? A bunch of congregational conversations. And as we talked, it just seemed like such a logical thing to do. And then when somebody said, well, why don't you be on that committee that works to create this thing? And it just sounded logical. It seemed like the thing at the time. It was a lot of work. You know that. And we had this chairperson that kept making us do stuff.
Really?
That would be Dave.
Your facilitator, madam. So when you were thinking about, okay, let's explore this reunification thing, and then let's go ahead and do this, what were you hoping for?
Right. I was hoping for a group of people that, partly because of the synergy between the two energies, and partly because of a greater mass of people, would provide more opportunities, that we would have more chances for social justice work, and we would have more RE things and more potlucks and more of everything.
And so, and then a pandemic comes up right in the middle of all this stuff. And
So much for
so,
potlucks.
so now we're 2+ years into this reunification. What do you, so you still think this is all viable, all realistic to think about going forward? What do you think our expectations ought to be going forward?
I think that when we're looking at things beyond the pandemic, the same problems that we already had are still with us. And there are so many challenges. We've got racial issues, we've got gender issues, we've got environment that is degrading fast, we've got things to confront us, and together is the only way we're going to actually be able to face this and know that we can stay who we are as a spiritual, a religious entity.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and subject you to the Colbert lightning round. Now, most of you have been here before, so you know Mary's really looking forward to this, as you can tell by her expression. Those of you who know this, I originally got the idea for this. I stole it from a Stephen Colbert late night show where he did this lightning round thing. It was a 15-question thing, and he did it with Tom Hanks and George Clooney and Meryl Streep. And so I like the idea, and we've now converted it into something we do on our show. And Will's our expert at this, so Will's going to lead Mary through the lightning round. Mary, just remember this is a lightning round, so this is quick answers and top of mind kinds of stuff here. And I changed some of the questions from what they originally were for our last show, because Lori Albright was on and she cheated and memorized all the questions we had been using. So I changed some of them. And so our other producer, Liz Kantor, gave me a whole bunch of other questions as well. So now we're doing a mixed bag of things here. So Will, the floor is yours with Mary for the lightning round. Go for it.
All right. Let's go. So in your opinion, what's the best sandwich?
A muffaletta. I don't know where to get one around here, but I want a muffaletta.
I've never heard of that, but it sounds delicious. What is your favorite action movie?
Action movie. Oh dear. I'm not into action movies.
Well, what is your favorite movie in general?
Oh, I've got lots. I'm gonna go with Avatar.
All right. Scariest animal?
Spiders.
Good choice. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
All right. What do you think happens when we die?
Remember in science that there's the conservation of energy and matter. So we just become part of everything.
All right. I would have never came up with that myself. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Good choice. Your greatest extravagance?
I spend too much money on gas going down to the towpath.
Pretty good spending there, huh? One song to listen to for the rest of your life. What is it?
Ooh, Imagine.
All right. And last but not least, describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
5 words.
Only 5.
Right. Going places, seeing things joyfully.
That is an excellent answer.
That was a very good answer. I like that one. Nicely done.
Me too.
So, Mary, you already told us a fair amount about your work stuff, but I'm kind of curious. You talked a little bit about going to the master's program, but that for some what you were going to do later on. But overall, was this a master plan you had once you got going here about, I want to do this, I want to be sexual assault person, whatever, or did one thing just lead to another? How did all that happen? Did it all just happen one thing to the next, or did you just say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this?
Right. No, I changed course a bunch of different times. When I became a women's health nurse practitioner, though, several other people were forming a group sexual assault nurse examiner so that we could like share call and stuff. And so I just kind of fell into it, but then I realized all the social work I'd done, even the bureaucratic parts of working for a state agency. I'm not scared of forms. I can help people work through all that stuff. It just seemed like the logical thing to do. And it was, all that was really rewarding. That program fell apart partly because we were toward the end at Huron Hospital, which then got disintegrated. But I'm trying to really retire, so I've backed off on a lot of that stuff.
You know, I used to run Huron Hospital, Mary.
Say what?
Did you know I used to run Huron Hospital?
I didn't know it was Huron. That's great.
Yeah, I ran it in from the I ran it in the early 90s for about 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I had a wonderful name badge that was issued to me, and David always thought it was pretty hilarious because it said sane, and he's like, they've got to give you a name badge that claims that you're sane.
What's that say, Mary? Will, it's up to you now.
I was going to say, they should have gave you that name badge while you were there. Just to clarify. So David had mentioned earlier that things kind of get mushed up as far as your career. So how does your work intersect with your justice passions? And do you have any other passions about any other social justice issues?
Weirdly enough, they're all connected. You know, I went to one meeting where somebody said ahead of time, if I hear the word intersectionality again, I'm going to leave. You know, that word actually does it, though, because I work at an abortion clinic. So obviously, one of my social justice passions is women's reproductive freedom. But that mushes into gender issues. It also mushes into racial issues. I think it was John Muir said, if you pull on one strand of the web, everything else reverberates. So yeah, the environment is where I go outside to renew myself, and it itself is so precious. And so, yeah, there's pretty much, it's all connected. I can't separate it out for you.
Wow, we know you're UU when your social justice work kind of connects with one of the many principles we have. So we already know that you are a lover of the outdoors. As you said, you spent a significant amount of gas money exploring the towpath. So let's switch gears again. So when you get some downtime, other than being outside and exploring nature, what do you like to do? Like, what media do you like to consume?
I read a lot. And I can make that be outdoors too. Right now, it's becoming warm enough so that one of the things that we looked for in a house was a front porch. And one of the things in a neighborhood that makes it a community is front porches. And I've got a hammock that I can sit on my front porch and read and be part of my neighborhood at the same time.
I completely understand that because my house also has a front porch and my grandparents' house doesn't have one. So they frequently come over to use our front porch. I mean, prior to COVID, of course, because, you know, they couldn't really come over during the height of the pandemic. But speaking of books that you're reading, which books are you currently reading right now? Which ones do you like to enjoy while relaxing on your porch?
Okay. I have almost finished our Senator Sherrod Brown's book, Desk 88, and I've learned so much from that. But just to reinvigorate some of my walking, maybe some folks here from Summer Institute know Jeff Liebman. He wrote a book called Sauntering, which is sort of like Thoreau's walking, but this is sauntering.
I haven't heard about Summer Institute in a while.
Hey, Mary, last question for you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Shape-shifting.
That's a good one right there.
And what's your logic behind that?
Okay. Actually, Octavia Butler wrote a book called Wild Seed, where the protagonist is a woman named Anyanwu, and she can shapeshift at a cellular level and really truly become like an eagle or whatever. That's my model.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, gang. Mary, you're out the hot seat for a couple of moments at least. We're going to take a brief break to get your questions for Mary organized. So if you have a question, I sure hope you do, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and ask it. Do not use the chat button for this. Use the Q&A button here. We'll get things organized for you to ask your questions when we return. But first, our mid-show break, and we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Our mid-show break this evening features the Earthrise by our National Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda Gorman. See you in a few.
On Christmas Eve, 1968, astronaut Bill Anders snapped a photo of the Earth as Apollo 8 orbited the moon. Those three guys were surprised to see from their eyes a planet looked like an Earthrise, a blue orb hovering over the moon's gray horizon with deep oceans and silver skies. It was our world's first glance at itself, a first chance to see a shared reality, a declared stance, and a commonality, a glimpse into our planet's mirror. And as threats drew nearer, our own urgency became clearer as we realized that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home. We've known that we're caught in the throes of climactic changes some say will just go away, while some simply pray to survive another day.
Hi guys, I'm Lou and I'm here to do your chunky yarn tutorial today. I'm going to be using Ivory Chunky Chenille yarn.
Another day, for it is the obscure, the oppressed, the poor who, when the disaster is declared done, still suffer more than anyone. Climate change is the single greatest challenge of our time. Of this you're certainly aware. It's saddening, but I cannot spare you from knowing an inconvenient fact, because it's getting the facts straight that gets us to act and not to wait. So I tell you this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to dare you to dream a different reality where despite disparities, we all care to protect this world, this riddled blue marvel, this little true marvel, to master the verve and the nerve to see how we can serve our planet. You don't need to be a politician to make it your mission to conserve, to protect, to preserve that one and only home that is ours. To use your unique power to give next generations the planet they deserve. We are demonstrating, creating, advocating. We heed this inconvenient truth because we need to be anything but lenient with the future of our youth. And while this is a training in sustaining the future of our planet, there is no rehearsal. The time is now, because the reversal of harm and protection of a future so universal should be anything but controversial. So, Earth, pale blue dots, we will fail you not, just as we chose to go to the moon. We know it's never too soon to choose hope. We choose to do more than cope with climate change. We choose to end it. We refuse to lose. We do this and more, not because it's very easy or nice, but because it is necessary. Because with every dawn, we carry the weight of the fates of this celestial body orbiting a star. And as heavy as that weight sounded, it doesn't hold us down, but it keeps us grounded, steady, ready, because an environmental movement of this size is simply another form of an earthrise. To see it, close your eyes, visualize that all of us in this room and outside of these walls or in these halls, all of us change makers, or in a spacecraft floating like a silver raft in space, and we see the face of a planet anew. We relish the view, we witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Open your eyes, know the future of this wise planet is right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this earth uprising, all of us bring light to exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an earth more than worth fighting for.
And we're back. That was Earthrise by National Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman. For many of us, 23-year-old Amanda first came to our consciousness when she shared her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. As it's obvious, she's an intellectual lightweight. She graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Harvard last year. That was a request from Mary that we play that poem for you Earthrise this evening. A couple of quick announcements for you all. One is that today is Joanne Orr's 21st birthday, so everybody wish Joanne a happy birthday, please. Happy birthday, Joanne. Happy birthday. And for those of you who are from the First U side of things, you might remember Bob and Mary Barger, and the Bargers have, after spending decades being itinerant UUs and roaming around Texas and Florida to be with their children, with stops up north to visit upper state New York every year or two, have now moved back to Cleveland. Mary just had a hospital stay, and she's over at Judson now. So those of you who know the Bargers might want to either drop them a line, perhaps visit Mary over at Judson right now. So those are a couple of things you might want to know about. Let's see. Mary, are you ready for some questions from your studio audience here?
Sure.
Okay, we'll give Lori Albright the first question. Lori, what's your question this evening for Mary?
My first question is, because I know a little bit about this, Mary, what do you enjoy about being in the Authentic Diversity Covenant Group?
Hanging with you. It's a covenant group. I like the people. but it's also a place to take questions and kind of dive deeper.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you, Lori. We'll come back to you in a minute, Lori. Allison Bashan, you have a question for Mary.
Did you say my name,
I
David?
did say your name, Allison.
Okay,
Yes.
because you cut in and out. I couldn't hear you. I wanted to ask Mary, what's the favorite place you've traveled to?
Ooh. I really enjoyed the Pacific Northwest. So I'm going to say the Olympic Peninsula.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty up there.
Yeah.
Allison,
What?
have you been there?
I've been to some parts like around near in Oregon.
Yeah.
That's exactly where you're thinking, but it's beautiful. I was visiting Gordon and we drove out a few hours and it was just gorgeous.
So Mary, I have a question here for you. This is a fill in the blank question. If there's one thing I wish we'd retain at UUCC, it would be fill in the blank.
Ooh, the music.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I wish we'd consider modifying at UUCC, it would be.
A greater sense of urgency around climate change.
Okay. Lori Albright, you have another question for Mary. You can ask it now.
Okay, so what's your favorite season, Mary Schatzman?
Ooh, pretty much the one I'm in. I don't know, fall? I like it. That's hard, Laurie.
Yeah, I know it's hard. So what do you enjoy about the fall?
The way the leaves smell when you take a hike, the colors, the way the air gets crisp sometimes, all of that.
All that sensory stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, Mary, so you could have 4 people have dinner with you, living or dead. You know, or people you don't. Who would they be?
Okay. Octavia Butler, Greta Thunberg, and then I want to use this space, so maybe President Biden, and just to make some change, Rob Portman.
Good choices.
So you have, so I'm curious whether or not having Rob there, whether you're thinking, oh, you can foment some change with this man, whether they basically just want to be able to sit there and shake your head. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nancy King Smith, you have a question for Mary.
Yes, I do. I'm wondering how many General Assemblies you've attended and whether you're going to go virtually this year and what your experience has been.
Well, yeah, the answer to the second one is, yeah, I'm already registered.
Good.
But, wow, probably 20 some.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, I love going to General Assembly.
Great. Any particular one that stood out for you?
Ooh, there's been something about almost all of them, but I think there was one in Spokane in 1995 that just had so many speakers that resonated with me. I guess I'd light on that one.
Okay. Well, I hope you'll be joined by some other folks. I'm registered, but I hope there'll be some more of us at this year's virtual one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be easier in a
Yep,
lot
it
of
is
ways.
easier. Mhm.
It's not as much fun. We can't hop on an airplane and go places, but it's going to be easier to access.
Yep.
Del Salza, you have a question for Mary. Del, if you're trying to speak, you're on mute. Del, we can't hear you. Yes, I call on you, Del.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't, the button wasn't there in the beginning. So Mary, what would you say are the best things and the hardest things about your job?
Oh, okay. The best parts are when I'm working with women who you can see a light go on. Or they start out being very closed off, and then they gradually open up and realize that they're still okay. I guess that's the best, but the hardest is when there's people who just want to stay in their when they don't feel good about themselves, and it's hard, and I see that this is happening and can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Mary, you're on a desert island. You can only have one food. What would it be?
Burrito.
From where? There are a lot of interesting burrito places, especially in Northeast Ohio.
And I'm just gonna go with Chipotle.
That's the safe choice.
It's good though.
True, true. What would you get on said burrito?
The salsa verde and chicken and yeah.
Pretty good choices. I can't argue that.
So I think that was going to be our last question for this evening, Mary. So thank you for all your insightful answers for us. I want to go on to a couple other things before I wrap up this evening. This is late in sharing with you, audience. We do have winners to our raffle to those who responded to our survey regarding your thoughts about the show. Without going into mega detail, basically, you all said you like the show pretty much the way it is, at the time it's at, the frequency it's at, the way it's formatted, what have you. But you did want to do, though, is see more of our and hear more from the co-hosts. So hopefully you're seeing us gradually have Will talking more, and hopefully you'll see the same thing from Claudia as we move forward, as I'm going to slowly head off into the sunset. Just a joke, gang. I'm going to head off to the beach, actually. But anyway, for those of you who did respond, we did pick out our raffle winners for that. And the winners are Allison Bashan, Bonnie Casey, Helen Guten, Lou Salza, and Valerie McFadden.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of you. At some point in the not too distant future, the Mug Elf will be visiting each of your home with your very own Zoom-In Live mug and a gift card to put something in it. And in fact, we've already visited a couple of folks to do that, and the rest of you should expect the Mug Elf to be by sometime in the not too distant future. I'm slowed down a little bit right now in working with the Mug Elf. As some of you know, my wife, Mary Ellen McNulty, had back surgery last Tuesday, which is going very, very well. Thank you very much in terms of how she's recuperating from the surgery itself. And hopefully she'll get some relief for her leg that has been aching her for the better part of a year. But that's slowing me down a little bit. Not because she needs particularly a whole lot of care, but as many of you know, when you're used to having two people divvying up the load and it's only one of you right now, it changes things around a little bit for a little bit of time. So please be patient. And again, I want to thank all of you who responded to the survey as we strive to make the show something you'll want to continue to watch. For future shows, if you have comments or questions to share, please send them to Zoom-In, ZOOMIN, at uucleveland.org. Again, that's Zoom-In, ZOOMIN, at uucleveland.org. We love getting your comments and questions and thoughts about things. And when we have them, we do share them with everybody else that's here. So, Mary, I want to thank you again for being our special guest this evening.
Yes.
And Will, I want to ask you what's up with our next show.
All right. So our next show will be on the 26th of April with special guest Don Stimpert. And according to David, as he wrote in the script, Don was a member of First U, one of the congregations that now comprise of UUCC. So long ago that David could barely pronounce Unitarian Universalism the first time that Don was board president of First U. And according to the notes I have here, according to these notes, I think I just had a brain freeze. According to these notes I had, Don says that David still can't pronounce Unitarian Universalism. I don't know. Can you, David? Try it right now.
Unitarian Universalism.
Well done.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
Thank you. I was primed for that all night, Will.
Thank you, Don, for helping him pronounce that. Anyway, Don was a long-standing leader of First U, was board president for consecutive years, and has served on the board multiple times, including at the time of reunification. He's done just about every volunteer role of significance over the years, and is one of the small select group of people that you go to when you're thinking, I wonder if anybody knows anything about whatever issue you can imagine. Join David, Don, Claudia Victoroff, and Jack Ullman in 2 weeks for the next episode of UUCC Zoom-In Live. Thank you.
Jack.
Yeah. Thanks, Will. So we're running out of show, gang. So let's give a major round of applause to Carol Gay, our producer. As I say each show, my co-host and I, Carol has to do the tough stuff to make things actually happen here. So thank you, Carol. Yes, as a reminder, if you'd like to catch up with your fellow congregants after the show, just stay right here for a chance to chat with your fellow UUs. Carol will get you squared away following our wrap-up music. And speaking of which, we're going to leave you tonight to the song "The Boys Are Back in Town" by Thin Lizzy. And we're playing this song in honor of Jack Ullman and our other fellow congregants who are making their way back to Cleveland after their time down south or out west during the winter. So we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for the next episode of UUCC Zoom-In Live. Mary and Will, say good night.
All right. Good night, beautiful people.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.
Thinking of making some little, wearing some dark colored t-shirt and making a piece of paper that says Black Lives Matter. Maybe printing something like that and putting it behind that desk.
Guess who just got back today? Them wild-eyed boys that had been away. Haven't changed, had much to say. But man, I still think them cats are crazy. They were asking if you were around, how you was, where you could be found. Told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men crazy. The boys are back in town, boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in
white she'd got. Man, when I tell you she was cool, she was red hot. I mean, she was steaming. And that time over at Johnny's place, well, this chick got up and she slapped Johnny's face. Man, we just fell about the place. If that chick don't want to know, forget her. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town. 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 Friday night they'll be dressed to kill down at Dino's Bar and Grill. The drink will flow and blood will spill. And if the boys want to fight, you better let them. That jukebox in the corner blasting out my favorite song. The nights are getting warmer, it won't be long. Won't be long till summer comes. Now that the boys are here again.